Okay, so welcome. So actually, what we're going to do in this next sections are to look at costs. We look at profit maximization, and specifically what we're going to be doing in this next, like pretty much half of the course, is looking at economic theory. So in the first part, we looked at applied microeconomics, which means applied, meaning we looked at the statistical side of things. We calculated elasticities. All the demand side that we did, all the study that we've done so far has been, looking at it through an applied way. Now, what we're moving to is actually the rest of the course, and a good portion of the rest is going to be dedicated to microeconomic theory. And I want to be clear, the first half, if you look at any kind of microeconomics course, typically it's all theory. So what I've done in your course is I've taken the first half of theory out, and we're just focusing the second half on theory. Why? Because actually I think that the applied side, the data side, is actually very interesting, and it's kind of tangible. You get your hands on things. When we look at like elasticities, you can actually estimate those, and to me that's kind of interesting. I'm have a bias in that way. I'm not a theorist. I'm an applied economist, and so that's what I like. I like to get my hands on things. This next section is think about modeling. Okay, modeling consumer behavior, modeling the market, modeling. It's an economic modeling exercise. Models are never real. Models actually are abstractions by definition. So they're not real. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be actually abstractly modeling market behaviors and market outcomes. So the thing that actually that we have to take some pause about is at some points we're going to have to think about why what are the big takeaways? What are we really getting out of these models? I want you to know that for the most part, um, a lot of the curves and a lot of things that you're seeing, those are actually coming from a mathematical model. So what you're getting is actually just a curve that is derived from a mathematical model, and you actually don't get to play with the model itself. So it's actually two levels of abstraction, because a model is abstract from reality, and now you've got the mathematical model, and we've got graphs that are abstraction of the model. So it's fairly abstract, actually, what we're trying to approach here. And I think that can sometimes also be a little confusing, because just trying to cement what's actually happening. So I want you to think, though, what we're doing is modeling, and so the story is always incredibly important in the model, because it kind of drives like how the model should behave. And so think about telling a story. We're telling a story with graphs. I want you to think about it like that. Okay, modeling with graphs, modeling an outcome. So start off with perfect competition. We model that first. Secondly, then we go look at monopoly. Monopoly. So perfect competition. You're going to need to know, what does that market look like? So what does it look like actually? Number two, monopoly. What does that look like? Well, it's got one seller. And then we're going to come to the third one, which I think is the more realistic one for our economy, which is monopolistic competition. And that's where you're going to have, I think, out of all the models, monopolistic competition is the one that's probably most relevant and the one that you most see in the economy today here in the United States. Perfect competition. Uh, Probably, maybe you may never have seen that actually. Maybe very few of you have actually seen a perfectly competitive market. I have. They're actually very prevalent in the developing world, where you have these, and we'll talk about it. Okay, monopolies. Also, generally, you may not know of too many monopolies, but we're going to talk about those. You should also know just how do monopolies come to exist, and the big takeaway from all this is that, and here's the big takeaway, is that in perfect competition, there's actually a thing called a first welfare theorem, which is that if we look at like the benefits to the society, perfectly competitive markets that don't have spillovers, an externality. What's an externality? That means something that is actually there's a cost or benefit that is not captured in the market transaction. It's bared by another outside party. Example, maybe you manufacture something and you spill things into the river when you do it. So, the transaction is, you sell those goods in a market, there's a transaction, But the external cost would be the people who maybe rely on the river for fishing or something like that. They have to pay that cost, and that's not being captured by that market transaction. That's called an externality. So if we don't have externalities and we also have good information, so we have perfect information, what happens is these perfectly competitive markets, they yield us the best possible outcome as a society. That's actually something that we can take away from all this. And there's room to talk about monopolies that actually don't, uh, achieve the same welfare. So there's some welfare loss when you have only one seller, and we'll see all those different types of things play out. But in general, I just want you to know kind of the big context that we're talking about theory and not practice. And so that's the big point I'm trying to ingrain in. We're making a big shift, and that's all I want to say.